Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I wanted to take you something that's been kind of in the back of my mind. It's something I don't even know if I've even told you guys about it. I don't even know if I've unveiled it, what I'm doing with it, what's going on. And I thought today, I cleaned it up. I was puttering around a little bit with it, and I thought, hey, I'm going to tell you guys about what's going on. So let's get to it. Now, you guys might remember when we did the Beast Vivarium that the challenge that we faced with, we had a lot of fun. Me and my daughter Riley were doing it together. But you can see without any sort of maintenance, it kind of just goes absolutely crazy wild. And there's good things and there's a lot of, in my opinion, bad things about it. So the Beast is going to be eventually completely gutted and changed. The little Monstera Andersoni just literally just falling out. This weird Raphidora type. You can tell it's not getting enough light by how far it's reaching. The Nepenthes are completely draping and covering over everything in the background. That's all those carnivorous plants. They're all over the place. And then my big Vandaceous one, which should be getting the most light of almost everybody, it's getting somewhat foreshadowed, but it's still throwing lots of new leaves and stuff. Now, you guys already know that with this project, this whole big tree limb, this branch, there's certain plants, and the Vandaceous orchid's going to be a focus of that thing there. That's definitely going to be a focus of it. But I've got the planter boxes, we've got the wall, and I've got plants everywhere. I've got different orchids and different things that are going on, all sorts of secret projects. I've got my gorgeous big Bolletii, with its 2-foot leaves. That's going to be a focal point definitely on that wall there. But the purpose of this video was not really that. It was the fact that I'm always doing these types of projects. So you guys know what's happening with this enclosure. If you don't, if you happen to be new and this is your first video, this is going to be the Tokay Gecko Palace. So the Tokay Geckos, we have 5 of them, and they're going to be going in there. They are currently right up there in that aquarium, that vivarium right now. And you can see, it's just, look at how lush, and it just looks absolutely terrible. But it's working, it's serving the purpose. Those 2 terrariums are going to be completely gutted and set up for the Amazon tree bows down the road once we move the Tokays. And what's going to be happening with the Tokays is, because we want to keep with the theme of their environment, I'm going to be putting in all their carnivorous Nepenthes plants. So in here we have, I believe, 5, and then I have a couple other ones, and they're all going to move over into that new environment. And it's basically going to make it, look really, really slick. We'll put a nice fern, we'll put a bunch of Nepenthes, all the geckos. I think it's going to look absolutely slick. But the purpose behind this video is to tell you guys about, I face south window here. No, sorry, I do not. I face east. This is an east-facing window. And in the wintertime, it's great. In the spring and fall, it's great. In the summertime, there's a massive rhubarb plant outside that pretty much shadows the whole window. So we're going to have to deal with that. And then out here, even the windows in the family room are not spared with all sorts of stuff. Different mosses growing in little Sterilite tubs. And I saved some of my red root floaters from the old Congo tank. We've got more different types of mosses growing into Tupperwares. There's my Rachel O'Leary escape tank is still going there. Scrapscape or whatever it was called. There's stuff everywhere. There's another philodendron just kind of growing. And the other window's no better. So what I quickly realized when I was doing all the different vivarium builds, and it doesn't matter whether I'm setting up an Amazon tree bow or a tarantula scape and I want just 1 or 2 unique plants or something, is I realized the problem was not only access during the pandemic of finding plants, the price of plants was skyrocketing. Shipping is insane. I live in Canada, so 8 months out of the year, it's shipping of sensitive things like tropical plants is not something you can regularly do. And all the scalpers and all the people that are just, charging enormous dollars for some of this stuff, I don't really like any of that. So the one thing that I thought I'm going to do is we're going to do a bunch of different vivariums, and the builds are going on, is I want to get kind of a nice store of material growing that I could take cuttings of whenever I want. So let's take a peek. So in my utility laundry room, those that follow me since the beginning know that I moved my big RO unit to that size, and I've got my air pumps and everything like that, and all the RO unit, blah, blah, blah. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to make space for this. And basically it's a 4-foot unit. I believe it's 5 feet tall. It's got 4 shelves on it. Right now, I'm just working out the little bugs, but it's solving a problem for me as I've got a nice humid chamber for a lot of different plants to kind of grow. Now, the plants in here a lot of the stuff I've got, these are just things I've even gotten cuttings from people, or they're just things that I've picked up that were kind of in the discount bin at some of the different home hardware stores and stuff, and some unique little things. But so some of the plants may not look the best. Bear in mind, this is it's just been kind of relatively set up. But I think you'll get the intention of what I want to accomplish. Let's take a peek. So I raised it up off the bottom, so there would be a drop below it. I just used some cinder blocks that I had around, and then all the electrical I was able to put in one of the chambers of there, so there's never any water or fear of going on to anything. And it's got 2 zippers, one on either side. Now, for my purposes, I wasn't trying to do anything fancy. These are literally, there's a boot tray on the bottom. I put like a Rubbermaid there with some aquarium soil. I was going to try and do a propagation chamber, but I haven't really done anything with it yet. I've got a nice alocasia here. It just likes high humidity and medium light. And this is something I think I picked up at probably, a home hardware store or a Walmart or something. Different types of cuttings and things like that where you keep the sphagnum moss moist. This is a little orchid, and you can see it. It wasn't doing well before, but it's sending out all sorts of new growth, all sorts of new roots. This is a Brassivola nodosa hybrid of some type. It's going to have a beautiful 5-pointed flower, and I believe it's kind of pink in color. It has flowered for me before in the old setup, but has not done well. And then I got some cuttings of Philodendron Brazil. And then I have some different types. I think it's a peperomia, some of these little tiny ones, these little tiny leaved ones, these little cuttings. I got those from my dear friend Kyle Neufeld. I got some Java moss, which is an aquarium plant, and it's been literally in a bag there for weeks. I got some nice, this is a Monstera dubia, and it was just a little tiny cutting. I disturbed it so you can see, but it's going to need something decidedly better than just this little tiny shingle for it to really do. And it's fancy. I didn't mean shingle as a bad pun, but this is a true shingling plant. And if I grew this on a post, it would literally wrap around the entire post. So it's a very, very cool plant for doing stuff in a smaller vivarium. The ever popular Philodendron micans, it's very, very common plant. Generally, sometimes fairly expensive. Doesn't really need to be. Obviously, mine's getting some insanely good light in the fact that all the leaves are red. It should normally be kind of a velvety green color, so it's probably getting a little bit more light than it needs. And I've got still a few little tiny coniferous plants. These were from the gentleman, if you remember the video, and I'll link it up here in the corner. The gentleman Remy that does all his nepenthes, growing them on a windowsill. And I thought it was an amazing setup, so we did a video together, and I got some different little coniferous plants from him when I was there, and that was kind of the reason for going and seeing him. And mine are not thriving, and that's definitely not a shot at Remy. That's entirely 100% my fault. With my work schedule and traveling schedule and moving all the time, sometimes trying to keep the moss alive is a little bit more of a challenge for me than, say, somebody that has access to seeing it every single day. I also was able to bring home these cute little... they call them pincularias, and they are another coniferous plants, and the leaves are all sticky, and the little tiny flies and gnats and stuff. It's a good way of controlling those in your collection because they get stuck to that plant and then it breaks them down. Top shelf, I do have a few more of the little nepenthes. These are going to go into that Tokay Gecko Palace as well. There's 2 of them there. But then the rest of the stuff is just holding stuff. So, nice little anthurium. I picked it up at Walmart for like $6. It's got a very, very dark flower. Perfect for one of my little vivarium builds. I've got a couple of different types of orchids growing here. These ones here were just, they'd kind of been neglected. These are Phragmipidiums. They're slipper orchids that come from South America, and they produce beautiful, beautiful flowers. But the unique thing about a lot of the Phragmipidiums, not all, but it's a lot of them like to have their feet or their roots wet. So I actually grow them in kind of semi-water culture and stuff like that. And these will all be intended, all the South American ones in particular, will be intended for that big giant vivarium build that we were talking about for upstairs. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, we're going to be building a large vivarium that's going to be about 6 feet tall by about 3 by 2. And it's going to be an Amazon-themed one to house 2 Amazon tree bows. And it's going to be upstairs in our living room. It's going to be fully planted. And then we've got some unique things like that nice Monstera, Peru. We have this nice Squamarosa, I believe it is, that gets that nice hairs all over the stems. You can see on the new growth, they're just absolutely stunning. This is going to go on our plant wall, that jungle-themed riparian plant wall, for sure. I've got a nice thing. I believe this one is called Raphidora. They call it dragon scale, and it can get real big and rangy because that plant is way back there, and that's it over here. It's new growth. So it actually, obviously, you can see it probably needs a lot more light than it's getting. It's growing out, it's spacing, and it's growing a lot far away. So I think if that had a lot brighter light, I think it would probably do really a lot better. We got a nice polar palm at the back. We got some sort of unique little thing here. But all these things are designed that I could throw almost anything in this environment. I went and put a mesh wall along the entire back of it so I can in turn take something like a shingling plant and I could go and then in turn hang it there. Some of the different things, I don't have many more, and this is part of the reason for going and setting up this setup was I used to have several different species of like Magravia, and I've lost most of them because I couldn't keep the humidity up. They don't work well in any of the dry environments, and a lot of the other environments are either too dry or too inconsistent. So that is part of the part and parcel of trying to change this up a little bit. So the only thing I do want to change, this unit has got the boot trays, it's got the racks, it's got the black wall, and basically the lighting is basically 2 3-foot sun blasters. Just provides good quality light for the plants. They're known for their quality for use in hydroponic. Mine are just T5 fluorescents. The only thing I do want to change in this environment is currently I'm just using a 6-inch little fan for circulating the air around, and there is a lot of space for the air to move to go in between the different levels. But I think I do want to put a small computer muffin fan on each one of the levels and suspend it, and I think that would give me better airflow. But overall, the purpose behind this, and you can see I still have a lot of space, the purpose behind this I think is good, is that I'll be able to harvest cuttings of all these plants, but still be able to maintain them and let them thrive and let them grow. And then I can, every time we're doing a vivarium build, we're not always having to source and buy new plants all the time. It gets very, very costly, as you know, but it's also nice to be able to have kind of a collection of stuff sitting back for you. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought you guys would like to see that. If you do, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Maybe a lot of you might be, more seasoned at doing this sort of stuff. If there's things that you're little tips and tricks that you think, hey, Biggs, you should try this or that, let me know in the comments. If there was a certain plant you really, really like, because there was some I maybe didn't point out, let me know in the comments. We'll talk about those. But thanks you again for watching, my friends. Hope you enjoyed. Take care.